Thank you for joining us at African Edge. In this video, we take a look at African Nobel Prize winners. The Nobel Prize is one of the 5 annual international awards bestowed in a number of categories in recognition of academic, cultural, or scientific advances. Since its inception in 1901, there have been 11 Nobel Laureates from Africa selected by the Norwegian Nobel Committee. However, this is only a drop in the ocean, considering that the Nobel Prizes and the prize in the economic sciences have been awarded 597 times to 950 people and organizations. Abiy Ahmed, the Ethiopian Prime, remains the latest entrant, having won the coveted award in 2019, joining the exclusive and prestigious list of African Nobel Laureates. African Edge presents all Africans bestowed the honor over the decades for their contributions to peace, chemistry, literature, physiology, medicine, and physics. At number 1, Albert Luthuli, South Africa, in 1960. Albert Luthuli was the first African and the first person from outside Europe and the Americas to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Luthuli was awarded the prestigious award in 1960 for his role in championing non-violent resistance to racial discrimination in South Africa. The Nobel Committee describes Luthuli as a man of noble bearing, charitable, intolerant of hatred, and adamant on his demands for equality and peace among all men. Luthuli was inspired by Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy of nonviolence. He became a spokesman for a campaign of civil disobedience directed against South Africa's policy of racial segregation and spearheaded several demonstrations and strikes against the white minority government. Luthuli Albert was born in 1898 and was elected president of the African National Congress (ANC) in 1952. During his acceptance speech, Luthuli noted that the award was a recognition of the sacrifice made by many of all races, particularly the African people who had endured and suffered for a long time. Luthuli died at the age of 69 in 1967 after a fatal accident near his home in Stranger, now known as Kwadukuza in KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. At number 2, Anwar alSadat from Egypt, 1978. Anwar alSadat, President of Egypt, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize together with Menachem Begin, Prime Minister of Israel. The two were awarded in 1978 for their contribution to the 2 frame agreements on peace in the Middle East and on peace between Egypt and Israel, which were signed at Camp David, the USA, on September 1978. Born on 25 September 1918, Anwar alSadat was Egypt's 3rd president from 15 October 1970. During his presidency, he changed the political and economic landscape of Egypt. One of his notable changes was his efforts towards building a comprehensive peace agreement with Israel and the return of Sinai to Egypt, which Israel had occupied since the Six-Day War of 1967. In November 1977, Sadat became the first Arab leader to visit Israel officially when he met with Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin and spoke before the assembly in Jerusalem about his views on how to achieve a comprehensive peace to the Arab-Israeli conflict, which included the full implementation of UN resolutions that sought the establishment of a just and lasting peace in the Middle East. Sadly, Sadat was assassinated in 1981. At number 3, Desmond Tutu, South Africa, in 1984. Desmond Tutu was a world-renowned preacher, human rights activist, and a strident voice against apartheid. The retired Anglican bishop won the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts in resolving and ending apartheid in South Africa. The Nobel Committee saluted him for his clear views and his fearless stance, characteristics that made him a unifying symbol for all African freedom fighters. Known as the voice of the voiceless to black South Africans, he was an outspoken critique of the apartheid. Tutu supported the economic boycott of South Africa while constantly encouraging reconciliation between various factions associated with apartheid. He was born in 1931 in Klerk, Transvaal, South Africa. He went on to become the first black Anglican bishop of both Cape Town and Johannesburg. He was traveled extensively, championing human rights and the equality of all people, both within South Africa and internationally. He has also focused on drawing awareness to issues such as poverty, AIDS, and non-democratic governments in the Third World. Tutu died from cancer at the Oasis Frail Care Center in Cape Town on December 2021, aged 90 years. At number 4, Nelson Mandela, South Africa, in 1993. Nelson Mandela, one of the most celebrated human rights symbols of the 20th century, is a man whose dedication to the liberties of his people inspires human rights advocates throughout the world. Born in 1918, Mandela was elected leader of the youth wing of the ANC, African National Congress, liberation movement in the early 1950s. When the country's white minority government prohibited the ANC in 1960, Mandela became convinced that armed struggle was inevitable. Inspired by the guerrilla wars in Algeria and Cuba, he organized a military underground movement that engaged in sabotage. In 1962, he was arrested and sentenced to life imprisonment for high treason and conspiracy against the state. From 1964 to 1982, he was confined to the notorious prison island, Robben Island, together with several other resistance leaders. He was then moved to a prison on the mainland until his release in 1990. After the release, Mandela intensified his battle against oppression. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993, jointly with the then President Frederick Willem de Klerk, for their work in the peaceful termination of the apartheid regime and for laying the foundations for a new democratic South Africa. Mandela became South Africa's democratically elected president in 1994, an office he held until 1999 when he retired. Number 5. Frederick Willem de Klerk, a South Africa in 1993. F.W. de Klerk was South Africa's president during apartheid. After assuming office in 1989, he called for a non-racist South Africa and announced his policy of reform. He hoped to create a suitable climate for negotiations that would end apartheid and bring about a new constitutional dispensation for South Africa, based on the principle of one person, one vote. He then lifted the ban on the ANC and released Nelson Mandela. After the release of Mandela, negotiations together with other party leaders were held for the peaceful end of apartheid and transition to democratic rule. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993 together with Nelson Mandela for their efforts to bring reforms in South Africa. F.W. de Klerk was born in 1936 in Johannesburg to Senator John de Klerk, a leading politician who became a minister in the South African government. At number 6, Kofi Annan, Ghana, 2001. In 2001, Ghana's Kofi Annan, the then UN Secretary, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize jointly with the United Nations for their work for a better organized and more peaceful world. Kofi Annan was born in Ghana in 1938. He served as the 17th Secretary General of the United Nations from January 1997 to December 2006. He received the Peace Prize for having revitalized the UN and for having given priority to human rights. The Nobel Committee also recognized his commitment to the struggle to contain the spreading of HIV in Africa and his declared opposition to international terrorism. At number 7, Wangari Maathai, Kenya, in 2004. Wangari Maathai, environmentalist and founder of the Green Belt movement, received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004 for her contribution to sustainable development, democracy, and peace. The Nobel Committee acknowledged her efforts in standing up courageously against the former oppressive regime in Kenya. Her unique forms of action contributed to drawing attention to political oppression, nationality, nationally and internationally. They termed her as an inspiration for many in the fight for democratic rights and especially encouragement to women. Born in 1950, Wangari Maathai was the first woman in Africa to be honored with the Nobel Peace Prize. At number 8, Mohamed ElBaradei, Egypt, 2005. Mohamed, Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, received the Nobel Peace Prize jointly with the United Nations nuclear watchdog IAEA with the efforts to prevent nuclear energy from being used for military purposes and to ensure that nuclear energy for peaceful purposes is used in the safest way possible. The Nobel Committee noted that ElBaradei had done much in strengthening the IAEA as an organization and increasing accession to the nuclear non-proliferation regime. Mohamed ElBaradei was born in Cairo in 1942. Before becoming head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, he had worked for several years as an Egyptian diplomat and in the United Nations. At number 9, Ellen JohnsonSirleaf, Liberia, 2011. Liberia's president was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2011 alongside peace activists Lima and Tawakkol Kaman for their non-violent struggle for the safety of women and women's rights to full participation in peace-building work. Sirleaf was elected as Liberia's president in 2005, just 2 years after the bloody civil wars that ravaged the country for more than a decade and just ended. As the first female head of state ever to be democratically elected in Africa, she has worked to promote peace, reconciliation, and social and economic development. At number 10, Lima Jiboi. Lima Jiboi is a women's rights champion, and she received the national prize jointly with the president alongside Tawakkol Kamal from Yemen. During the civil war that ravaged Liberia, Lima called together women from different ethnic and religious groups in the fight for peace. Dressed in white t-shirts, they held daily demonstrations at the fish market in Monrovia. After having collected money, she led a delegation of Liberian women to Ghana to put pressure on the warring factions during the peace talk process. This played a decisive role in ending the war. Jiboi has worked to help those who suffered psychological trauma during the civil war in Liberia, including child soldiers. Number 11, the National Dialogue Quartet, Tunisia. The National Dialogue Quartet is a group of 4 organizations that was sent to build a plurality democracy in the wake of revolution in Tunisia in the wake of a revolution in Tunisia in 2011. The quartet is made up of the Tunisian General Labor Union, the Tunisian Confederation of Industry, Trade and Handicrafts, the Tunisian Human Rights League, and the Tunisian Order of Lawyers. The group succeeded in creating a peaceful dialogue. Through a mediating role, the quartet allowed political and religious divides to be bridged, and democratic development followed. They were awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for their decisive contribution to the building of a pluralistic democracy in Tunisia in the wake of the Jasmine Revolution of 2011. At number 12, Abiy Ahmed in Ethiopia. Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was once widely praised outside the country for his reforming zeal, but that image was shattered after he launched a civil war in the north of the country in November 2020. He bagged the Nobel Peace Prize in October 2019 for his efforts to achieve peace and international cooperation, and in particular for his decisive initiative to resolve the border conflict with neighboring Eritrea. Ahmed was born in Beshasha, Ethiopia. As a young man, Ahmed participated in the armed struggle against Mengistu's community regime in Ethiopia and later served in the Ethiopian military. A long-time political activist, he was elected to the Ethiopian parliament in 2010. He became Prime Minister of Ethiopia in 2018. There you have it, Nobel Peace Prize winners from Africa. Thanks for watching.